Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which is on a fireside chat on the topic of the site resources page. Today's presenter is Harsha Devan Martyr, who is a product manager here at Exxat. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please add your questions in the questions box. We will be pausing periodically to ensure your questions are answered. If you'd prefer to voice your question, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll go ahead and unmute you. As usual, you can download today's presentation to follow along or keep as a reference. You can find that in the handout section. This webinar will be recorded and shared with you along with the presentation via email 1 hour after the webinar ends, and will also be made available on our YouTube channel. We're going to give folks just a couple of minutes to get logged on and get their audio sorted. We'll give it 1 to 2 minutes. We'll be back with you in just a few moments. All right, and without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Harsha, if you're all set, you can take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Roshio. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to start, we'll discuss on site resource page and what offerings we have on the Prism application and any feedback or any suggestions for improvements you guys have. Yeah, so we divided into three modules or three sections as I just defined. Like we'll go through the concept and then what we have it in Prism application, and then some of the Q&A topics we're going to discuss, right? To start with, site resource, what exactly is a site resource page, right? It's a public URL. It's more like anyone who has the access to this URL, anyone who has this URL can access it. It doesn't need any login as such. For example, in your Prism application, on the student side, on the admin side, you have a username and the password as such, right? But for this particular page, site resource page, you don't need to have any such logins. Anyone with the URL can access, and it can house the information about the school. For example, if you want to share the rotation details for your future clinical experience management, and then any preceptor or CI onboarding materials which can help the site personnel to get onboarded into your school, and then any course specific resources. It could be related to the course policy or any course related materials, and any site related announcements, right? Probably during your clinical experience schedule, if there are any such announcement that you want to notify the site personals as such, and then any additional school specific details which you want the site personnel to know, which can help them in helping the students in their clinical experience can be housed in this site resource page. This is the benefit this site resource page offers to the school. And schools can customize, or sometimes they want to use their own label or the resources and announcement and messaging based on their need and the taste. They can have this, right? So this is all on the concept of a site resource. And let me just show you a sample of this page, how it looks like in Exxat. Yeah, so this is how we have it in Exxat. This is just one sample. Wherein on the first, on the left hand side, on the topmost, you can see the landing page, wherein you can have a school logo, any messages or any announcement that come on the left hand side, and also you can customize the welcome message. You can also include some sort of pics or images which or any points basically that could that you want to have on that page, right? And then 4 different sections, one for your clinical education schedule or the rotations, which can house the upcoming rotations information. And then the program-wide resources for clinicians. It's program specific. It's not any course specific, but for the entire program, if there are any particular resources that could help the site people or site personnel. And then core specific resources, as I just explained like a while ago, it could house the reading materials or any specific policies. And then the last, clinical education contacts. This page can house any contact information, typically like a business card. You could actually have people from the school to whom the site person can reach out to if they have any questions during the placements, right? So this is a sample page. I'll also show it in um, the actual website as well. Yeah. So this is one sample example. This is how the landing page, and this is the URL. So this URL, this particular URL, all you need to do is just copy paste this one and include in your emails or any of the communications you want to send it to the site personnel, right? This is how you can share this. And as I said, it doesn't need any login. Any person with this link can open this up and they can see the details. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Roshi, if you can help me with this poll question.
Sure thing. Let me go ahead and open up that poll. So go ahead and take a moment just to let us know, are you using the site resources page? We want to see and gauge how many of our programs are kind of using this feature to share information with sites. All right, looks like I have about 83% of you who have voted. I'll go ahead and leave it open for about 10 more seconds here, and then we'll go ahead and close it and share the results with you. All right, I will be closing the poll. And I'm going to share those results with you here. So it looks like about 90% of you have answered no. Oh, that is actually interesting. And about 10% of you have said yes. And we do have a comment here from Stephanie saying, I am not using now, but want to use going forward. So we'd love to hear that. Joni also gave us a comment here. I clicked no, but we are new to Prism and just learning the system, so this webinar will be helpful. Oh, perfect. Bill here says, or Dean, sorry, it says, we did in V3, but not yet in Prism. Haven't really had a chance to see what's in there or set it up. So love to see that there's interest, and hopefully this webinar will highlight some good features on setting that up for you guys and sharing information.
Okay, just to add, thanks for answering the poll question. So that's what we want to know, like, because this is one of the feature that was widely used in version 3. So we wanted to see, like, how schools are using it in Prism. Harsha will next cover how you can use that, what are the capabilities of the site resources page. So I think this session will definitely help you to understand how the site resource page works. Go ahead, Harsha.
All right. Thanks, Kanti and Roshi, and then thanks people for voting in and also giving your comments. Yeah, definitely we do cover how the the Prism site resource page looks like and what sort of capability it has, and how do you control what you can share and what you can't share, right? So we'll go through each of the sections sections one by one. So to give an overview, as I said, as I showed in the earlier page of one of the demo environment, you can share rotation details in the site resource page. Prism provides that capability, and also any program specific or any clinical course specific resource materials. This can be your documents, FAQs, or any short video or any or a URL or a link to any such resources which you house in any of the other places, right? So these can also be shared. Any specific announcements, clinical education contacts, and the customization of the welcome message or any message you want to have it in the landing page. pretty much these things we have covered earlier. I just want to give like these are the capabilities exist in Prism as well, right? Now, how we can access the setup of site resource page? It's in the program details section. The steps have been mentioned here, but what I'll do is like I'll access the live system itself so that it's easier for you folks as well. Yeah, I have logged in as a school admin. On the program section, I could see the program details. So within this section, if we go, the third option, the site resource page, this is where you can see or configure all the things that you want to have it on the site resource page. To start off with, welcome message. So there's a switch or there's this particular option. If you enable this one, then the welcome message text editor would come. You can have your customized message also here, right? And it's a rich text box. You can also have link to some other, let's say, materials you want to expose or some other even some of the schools, they can also use a image or a photo as well, right? So to make it look more eye catchy or something, so you can have that done in the welcome message section. Okay. And then you have the announcement as well here. So any announcement you want to quickly share with the sites, right, that can be added here. Now these, you want to, again, the same process, you have to enable this one, this particular option, then only the announcement will be shown. And the setting of this announcement or adding the announcement, what all announcement you want to do, that is under the site section of the application. So if you click here, it will take you to the site section or the site setup section of the Prism application here. Most of the folks, you might have used your site's location, personal, these things, and there's first tab setup as well. Within the setup, you have the announcement. So you can add an announcement from here. Announcement can come up with the start and end date. So post end date, they won't appear in the website, right? And you can give a title, you can give a description. And again, one more important thing is like you should enable this particular option. If you don't do this, then it won't show it on the site resource page. It would more like an internal announcement. But enabling this one would make it appear on the site resource page. And also any documents you want to add or anything you want to attach with the announcement can be done from this particular page, right? And this particular icon will let you know that if from the list of announcement, if anything has been shared with the site resource page, this will give you a clear indication of that. And then you have clinical education schedule. So any schedule rotation details or scheduling details, if you want to share on the site resource page, then this is a section for it, right? Now, follow the same process like in other sections. If you want to show them this particular section, you enable this one. And on clicking this one, it will take you to the setup of that page. This is under the placement section, right? Within the placement, you do have the rotation or the setup section in the placement where you can add the rotations, right? For example, it took me to the placement landing page and I want to include rotations of class of 2022, right? Now I'll go here within the placement for group section and the setup part. Now let's say this is the rotation, right? Clinical practice 1. Now there is an option here, show on site resource page, right? So this particular option would show this rotation on the site resource page, right? Now what we have, there's some recent changes that have been done. Let me just walk you through those changes. Okay, so this we have seen just now. Rotations can be added from the placement setup section, right? Now there's a option of minimum recommended duration as well as the time segment, and it's an optional field. Now, if you want to show minimum recommended duration, right? Now, if you enter the value here, this particular value would be shown. It could be in hours, it could be in days, it could be in weeks, right? If we added that, then on the site resource page, the site person would see that minimum recommended duration. Whatever we have entered, 90 hours, 100 hours, or 15 days, 20 days, or even in the weeks, right? Now, if you don't enter this value at all, it's just based on the start date and end date, and then the time segment is weeks, the system would auto calculate based on the start date and end date and it would take the time segment and it would show the actual value or the actual time period, right? So this is how it would work. And we only show future rotations here. The current and the past rotations are not shown in that page, because it's going to be huge list. So only the future rotations which are part of the clinical experience management, only those would be shown. Earlier it was limited to 18 months. So whatever the rotations which are coming in the next 18 months were shown. But we recently enhanced to make sure that we show all the future rotations, so they have a better visibility into the rotation schedule of the school, right? So this was one enhancement or one change which we have done recently. I wanted to highlight.
Harsha,
Okay.
quick
Yeah.
clarification. So
Yes.
all the upcoming rotations are all the future rotation, but they should be marked as show on site resources
Yes.
page.
Exactly. Exactly. So if you don't mark this particular option, even though it's a future rotation, then it won't come it up. So you have to make sure that any rotation you want to show it on the site resource page, this is a mandatory step. So this one has to be selected.
So just want to call out what Harsha was explaining. So for when you want to show your rotation dates on the site resources page, after you enable the section, you also have the ability to like individually mark what rotation dates you want to show on the site resources page. You don't need to worry about the past rotations, like going back and turning off each of them. The system will automatically stop showing all the past rotations. It will always show the future rotations only, and within the future rotations you can decide if there are any rotations that you don't want to show, you can go ahead and turn them off.
Yeah, I'll show it in the this particular page as well. So this is your announcement. This is school logo and message from school, reminder, no class on May 29th. This is some sort of an announcement the school has, right? And this is a welcome message. And within this clinical education schedule, you can see the rotations. Currently, there are two rotations. Probably only these two have been marked to show on the site resource page here, and these two are upcoming ones, right? So this is 7 weeks and then this is 120 hours, so these are coming here. And as I said, as I was explaining earlier, if you had put it in terms of hours duration, minimum duration, it would come here. Or if you have not put it, then the system would just auto calculate it and it would call it out. It's for 7 weeks. And if there is any specific number of hours or the days, if that has been mentioned, the system would pick it from there. Okay.
Harsha, we do have a
Yes.
question here from Joni. I see
Mhm.
a Think preceptor for clinical hours. Does this replace the normal process for sending out thank yous to preceptors, or does it affect that in some way?
No, it's just the number of hours. It's just the durations. It's nothing related to the preceptors as such.
All right, thank you.
So did that help? Should we move on?
Joni, let us know if you have any follow-up question to that.
So this duration is nothing but the number of hours or just the time period that the student
Okay.
is expected to
I
complete.
think Joni has her hand up. So Joni, if you want to like speak, maybe we can unmute you and maybe you can ask your question. But what Harsha is trying to explain here is this minimum duration, these dates and hours are just for information purpose. This is not; these hours are not driving your thank you. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's different.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead, Joni.
wondering, so in the setup, as I recall, we have we set up the ability to run thank yous as well as determine which hours will be included in the thank you, whether they're I can't remember the exact parameters that were set, but it can either be the ones that have been approved or all hours. And so I'm just wondering, why it's in there as well, because it almost makes it look that if you don't set it up in there, that it won't work. So it doesn't sound like that's the case, but it just has two different areas where you can sort of have the ability to set up preceptor thank you hours, and I just don't want to have one conflicting with the other. So does that make sense?
Yes, yes. See, on the screen that you are seeing, the thank you clinical instructor with credit hours, that is the section that will drive the hours for the thank you emails. But you have rightly pointed out, like if you want to let them know what are the hours, so you might have to put them here to match it equally, so the preceptors are not confused. But these are two different things, so they are not talking to each other. So this time segment and the minimum recommendation, those are the hours or weeks you are setting up just for information, so that is not driving any logic. But to make it clear for the preceptors, it is better if you use the same hours, so when you're sending thank you letters also, they know out of how many hours you are calculating the thank you hours.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions, Kanti and Roshu, or
No,
should we get?
you
Okay.
can move on.
All right. So yeah, this was on the schedules or the rotations, right? The next is on the resources. So there are two type of resources. You can have it here. Again, I'll go to the system so that we can better see it here. So resources for clinicians, right? This is at a program level. As it mentioned here, any FAQ, a quick link video or a document, or anything related to the program, if you want to share with this site, this can be done from this section. Again, on clicking this particular link, it will open up in a new tab. Resources, the same sites module, again, the place exactly where you added the announcement. One more option beneath that, resources. You can have the different categories set, let's say attendance policy, CI information, right? I mean, you can create many more. And you can also change the ordering of this one as well. Based on, sorry, you can't change the ordering as such, it's based on the alphabetical naming convention. But anything you add within these things, let's say if you want to add any documents, videos, links, and FAQs, you can click on add resources. It will just categorize them, right? And then you can put the name, description, and again, one important thing here is you should enable this option, show on site resources page. That will drive the logic whether to show this particular resources on the site resource page or not, right? So this is for the program level details or the program level documents you want to share. It could be related to any of these categories. So on the site resource page, let me just, yeah. So here, if you can go to this section, program-wide resources, you could see that in the general section, there are 3 documents that those have been added. And then within the placement section, these are the categories which we have just seen. There are 5 such resources that's been added, right? So whatever you create there, it would be coming in this particular section, and the site personnel can access it. And there are different ways. I mean, there are different variants like documents, video, link, or any simple FAQs also if you want to put it, and those can be added here as well.
Harsha, Donna has a question. Is there a limit of documents that can be added in those sections?
No, there is no limit as such. You can add it, right? There's nothing a limit or something there. You can add as many documents as you want to.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Again, within the same section, resources for clinicians. Now I'm in the setup section, right? We have just looked into setting up the program level resources. If you want to add any course specific documents, let's say course policy, course related materials, or anything that is related to the rotations of that particular course, right? If you want to share those, then in the same section, you click this particular icon, and then it will take you to the course setup section, right? You should, again, it depends on the particular course, right? For the particular course, if you want to add any resources, for example, let me take this DPT 900, Clinical Practice 4, and then within this, there is a resource section. It follows the same, the experience, like like we had it for the program level, there are categories, right? And then within each categories, there are sections. There are resources you can add it. Let's take an example of this one. This was added, and this was enabled to show on site resource page. This is the section for that. So again, all these different sections we have, or the different resources or announcement sections we have, we just need to make sure that whatever we add, if you want to show them on the site resource page, this option or this particular switch has to be enabled, right? Or else it just becomes a resource for the internal usage. It will not never be shown on the site resource page, so that site person don't have access to. So this is one of the important thing that we need to make sure this option is enabled. And once we add, again in the site resource page, you have one tab for program-wide resources, another one for course-specific one. It follows the same thing. Here, the course one addition here is like it will list down all the courses as well. All the clinical courses that we have here, those are also listed. And then within that, if there are any resources those have been added, will be shown as well. Yeah. So, for example, in this case, they have created a category syllabus, and then they have just added a resource for syllabus. Again, it's the same thing, like, right? You can have documents, you can have videos, links, and FAQs, just like you have it in the program wide. The only fundamental difference is that anything you add it here is very specific to the course or rotations, right? To which the course belongs to. And then the program wide, something generic, where if you want to have any preceptor onboarding materials, or any manuals if you want to have, or any generic FAQs about the school, right? So those sort of things would make it to the program wide, something which is not specific to the course in general, right? And anything which is specific to the rotation of the course would go into this section. And then the last section is your contacts, school clinical education contacts, right? So let's go here in the setup part. Again, see, one other thing is like you have complete control on what you want to show or what you don't want to show, right? Let's say if you don't want to show any resources because you don't want to share any resources, then you can just switch it off, right? Then the entire resources style or the folder will not be shown, right? And if you don't want to share any clinical education contacts, you can switch it off. So all these sections come with that personalization, right? If you want to share it, you can enable, and then if you don't want to share it, you can just ignore them, right? Clinical education contacts also. So these are generally the faculty or the staff of the school to whom, who could act as a point of contact for any of the questions or any of the concerns from the site personnel. And if you want to share their quick business card or something, like with their photo and email ID and what sort of title or the designation the person has, contact number, or any note, like this person can be reached out to for any compliance related things, or this particular person can be related to any placement related concerns or something. So this is the place for that, right? So again, to include a particular faculty or a staff, you go to their profile. Let me just take an example, and yeah, you click on that icon, it would take you to the faculty profile, right, or the landing page of the faculty module. Let's say I want to include this particular person, Stacy Chapman. I'll click on the name, and then here on this profile page itself, right, where you have all the details about this particular person, there is one option for contact sharing. If we click on this one, there are multiple options. Let's say if you want to share this person with the students, share with faculty and staff, and then the last option, share on site resource. If we enable this person, then the person details would be shown as a point of contact, with some details, like, as I said, like the title, email ID. Let me just show it here directly. Yeah. So I have added Stacy Chapman, and she's an associate professor, DCE, and I have put her email ID and phone number. And if there are any notes also, that would come here, right? So this is the last section where you can actually show some sort of point of contacts of the school. Okay, so this is about the Prism offering we have currently. The announcement, landing page, and 4 different sections which we just looked into. Uh, Roshu, any questions we have, or else we can go to
As
the
we wait
next.
for questions, Harsha, can you go back to the program details with? I just want to like quickly summarize. So just
Uh-huh.
want to quickly summarize what Harsha have been telling. So for school, for you to set up the like the link for the site resources page, it is already readily available. You don't need to request for the link. The path for you to go to that is on this from the school side. Can we go back to the school side, Harsha, for a second?
Yeah.
You are on this. So you from the dashboard, you would go to the program details page, program details section, and there is a site resource page. So with Prism also, we have renamed it in version 3. If you have been using this feature, we used to call it as public website, but it looked like site resources, a more apt name. So site resources page is where you would go on from the school side. And then here is where you are actually controlling what tiles you want to show on the site resources page itself. So all these sections end up as the tiles or the left hand section on the for the site, right? And when you expand each of this section, if you can expand one of the sections, Harsha, like welcome message on
Mm-hmm.
any section you expand, you have two things to remember. One is that flip, like the switch that you're flipping if you want to use that section on the resources page. If you don't want, you will flip it off. And to control the information, there is always like an edit pencil here for you to edit the content, or there is like a box with an arrow. Like if you go to announcement section, Harsha, if you expand it, yeah, there is an icon like this with a box and an arrow that is going to take to the specific page where you can where you can manage the content within that section. So that is how we have added these capabilities for each of those sections. So you go to the site resources page and then flip the button, flip the bit that if you want to use that section, and use that like right side arrow to control the content. Right now within the individual content, like that you want to show on the site resources page, you flip the bit which is show on site resources page. So that would be more at a very individual level. You are controlling that information. Maybe you want to show the clinical education schedule, if you take as an example. But within the clinical education schedule, there are some like off schedule rotations you might have created, or ICE rotations that you have created that you don't want to show on the site resources page. So that is where you will go to that individual section, and then you mark that bit either on or off based on what individual information you want to showcase to your preceptors and sites. So that is how the workflow of the site resources page is. Okay, thank you, Harsha. Any questions, Rosho, that we are seeing?
No questions, Kanti.
Okay.
Okay. Now, having seen this one, right, the current functionalities we have, so we want to know like the whether these all functionalities would be helpful for your needs, or do we need certain enhancement needed, or it's completely different from what you are thinking about. Can we get this answers, Roshio?
All right, folks, I will be launching the poll here, so feel free to answer that question there. And we'll give you folks about 30 more seconds, but just let us know if you have used the site resources page, or from what you've seen today, do you feel that this fits the need for your sharing resources, or does it need some changes? And I do see a question here from Ashley about how do you send the link? So how do you share the site resources page with your site partners? And we'll get to that in a second here. I'm just going to see if we have any more votes. It looks like we have only about 23% of you folks who have voted. We're going to go ahead and close it. I don't want to drag it on too long here. And I'll share those results with you. And it looks like from those that answered, the site resources page does fit your needs, but if there is anyone that wasn't sure or maybe wants to provide some feedback as to what you'd like to see on there, you're more than welcome to add that feedback in the questions box or raise your hand and let us know in real time. And Harsha, do you want to go ahead and answer Ashley's question here while we wait to see if folks have feedback for us?
Yes. So in any of the notifications that go out, you can just copy paste that link. For example, it could be your slot request when you're sending slot request emails to multiple sites and all. And if you want to share that link, right, you can just copy paste that link in those emails or the templates, and then you can send it across, right? That's one way we can look. One way we can think about sending these, sending the link to these sites, and also in your placement notifications. Also, when you want to send those placement notifications, if you want to include the public website URL or the site resource page, you can just copy paste that link in the email template, and that can be sent. So I mean, in a nutshell, in any of the emails that you send it to the sites, you can include it, or you can broadcast as a part of a separate email also, just to send this one as well, right? So this could be included. So there is no trigger as such that only in certain places I want to use it or something. It's quite open. It's left to you, like how we want to share.
And Harsha, can we show the steps one more time? So how to get the link, the
Okay.
site resources page.
Got it. So this is a setup page which we are talking about, right? Within the program details section, once you land within the program section, you have program details. And then if you just click on this, view site resource page, a particular link would be generated here. This is a URL, public exxat.com, and then Exxat sales. For example, let's consider Exxat sales as school here, right? This is a school. So instead of this one, your school name would be populated. And if it can just copy paste this one, and if you include it in any of your emails, it would open up for them. So that's it. I mean, you don't need to do anything apart from this one. Just copy paste the URL, and then this would be done. It doesn't need any login or anything the preceptor, any credentials for the preceptor or this site personnel, right? They just have to have the access to, they just need this link to access the resources. They don't need to have any username, password as such. And you can include this link as is in your emails.
Thank you, Harsha.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Harsha, I think we can move on to the next section.
Yeah, I think we just want, do we have the results, Roshu? Based on that, we can open the floor for any comments or.
Yeah, I shared the results earlier. I'll share them again. Are you able to see that, Harsha?
Yeah, if you could just help me out with the numbers.
It should be displaying on your screen as well. 100% of the people who voted said yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. We just want to. Yeah, we just want to open the floor for any comments or anything we want to add more, or any small tweaks we need to do. I know that most of you found it very useful, but anything you want to add it on top of it, or if you have used so far, like is there anything that didn't work out well? we should enhance it.
We are not seeing any questions, though, Harsha. Anybody would like to
Okay.
speak, you can unmute them as well. So I think we are at the end of the session. We just want some time to see if you have any feedback, comments. I know most of you have not responded to us. The folks who, like, who did not respond. Do you see, like, what else can we improve so that you can start using the site resources page? If you can, like, put your comments, or if you have further questions under the question section, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. So your feedback will definitely help us in improving our site resources page in Prism. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions or comments, Harsha. So maybe we can end the session, and then you can always, like, email us with your feedback, comments anytime, and then we will further enhance the site resources page.
It does look like we have some feedback or a question from Ashley.
Okay.
Can the site resources page be added as an add-on to the notification emails that go out?
Yes. Yeah, you
Uh,
can definitely include the link. As we were discussing a little bit earlier, like you can just copy paste the URL, and then you can broadcast those messages. So it can definitely include it as a part of your notification emails.
So actually, to add to that, what you can do is, since you can save your placement notifications template as well, you can copy paste the URL and save the template. So anytime you are sending your placement notifications, the site resources URL is always within your placement notifications. So that's how you can add it to your placement notifications or any notifications.
Ashley followed up saying, so that we can have the option to select them as we are sending them out. What I think Ashley is intending to say is to have it possibly as a tag, or something where she can quickly add it, rather than having to update all of her templates with the link. But Ashley, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Actually, do you want to just like, speak up and let us know what clarify your question, please?
And I can go ahead and unmute you, Ashley. Ashley, if you're unmuted, if you'd like to speak, you can, but no pressure. Okay. It looks like she might have stepped away. So,
Okay, so we'll make a note of it, and we'll see, like, if we can have an easy option to include the site resources page in any of the notifications.
awesome.
I think one thing we just want to um, correct, right? So we do show the current as well as the future rotations. Earlier, it was a limitation of only future rotations of 18 months plus the current. Future rotations are shown irrespective of the timeline. Along with that, current rotations were also part of the rotation details we show. Only the past rotations don't make into the list. It's only the current plus future.
All right. So Rosie, I'm not seeing any further questions or comments, so maybe you can go ahead with the closing comments and we can end the session.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you, folks, for sticking with us here. If you have a few minutes, we'd love to hear from you. Stick around once this webinar ends for a short survey to let us know how we're doing, what can be improved, and any additional topics you'd like to see in the future. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.